guys, we're back here with the second half of my analysis of some hands I played in these 10NL games this past weekend. If you haven't seen the first half, I definitely recommend you go back and check it out. We found some spots that we did not play optimally, and that is, we should not feel bad about that. That is why you do this study. This is how you learn. So actually glad all that occurred, and we found some spots we can play better next time, and hey, we're better off for it. So a couple more hands. Let's go through them. So here we are on the button, pocket eights. Looks like cutoff is already posted. So let's keep that in mind for bet sizing if nothing else. Drag that guy out of the way. What happens? So a limp. He checks his options. So different ways you can do it here. I'm looking over here. This villain 3-bets 15% of the time. He's relatively aggressive. So what I like to do is I like to bet being in position. I don't want to have to, if I limp behind, I don't want him to raise and put me in a kind of tough spot. With pocket eights, you can probably call, getting the right prices to set mine, but you're better off playing something like this heads up. You always want to play with only one or two other people if you can help it. So that guy limped. He's not real strong. This guy just checked his option, I suppose, so he's not real strong. So definitely I like raising this up here to about 50 cents. Good. Sometimes I don't make the optimal play. So small blind is super loose and he calls. Initial limper calls. Poster folds. So all right, we're going three ways to a flop. All right, top set. That's a pretty good flop. So it's a relatively dynamic board. It's dynamic in the sense that the top pair is going to change. You're likely to get some overcards here. So you want to get some money in while somebody has some type of draw because the jack, queen, king, ace could scare some guys away. A lot of draws out there. Spades, obviously. There's not a lot of 7 combinations people are going to play here. Certainly 9-7 flop the straight. 7-4. Guys shouldn't be playing 7-4. So let's see what happens. Check, check. So it's a board I want to bet, and it's a board I want to bet relatively large. If these guys if they happen to call behind with 9s or something, they're absolutely going to call this bet. If they happen to have some type of draw or 7 or spades, they're certainly going to call a large bet. So I hope I go relatively large, like $1.10, $1.20. All right, 90, a little bit more than half pot. Well, what I see in the first half is I think in some of these situations I like bigger bets. It could just be from the hotkeys I have set up in my PokerStars, the standard percentages. Maybe I got to look if I trade those up to some bigger numbers. So 90 cents, a fold, and a call. All right. So now it's a sticky sticky turn. So should he have had a 7, he got there. So the question is, how many hands did he float with 7? So 8-7 had a pair plus straight draw. There's only one suited combination of that. 7-6, there's 3 suited combinations of that. Even though he's playing 43% of hands, he's probably not open limping 7-6 offsuit. He certainly could have had something like pocket 9s and got a better set. So let's see what happens. So he checks into us. I still like a bet here. I just think he's going to show up with so many value hands that you can beat. He can show up with 8-6, 6-5 suited, some of the 2-pair combinations, even a 9-8 now. He can show up with some 2 pairs that you beat. I think there are hands he calls with that don't contain a 7 that you can still get value from. So I like it. I might size down a little bit here, only in the sense that if you bet, $3 or something, though, he probably only calls you with a 7. So I like a little smaller bet, probably something about 150. I check behind, and I don't mind it once the obvious draw completes. You check behind with what's now kind of a marginal made hand. That's okay. So I probably like to fire there, just I think you can get value from other worse hands, but I don't mind that check. And a 4. So unless he happened to have no, the 4 shouldn't improve anything. If he had the straight, he already got there. If he had some random 6-4 or something, though, he made 2 pairs and might pay off a little bit. So let's see, what does he do? So he leads in for half pot. Well, I think it's a relatively easy call. Again, you're going to be showing to 7 a decent amount of the time. There are 2-pair combos in here in his range, 8-9, 8-6, 6-5 that you beat that he will take this line with. So I think it's a pretty easy call. Call. Well, see, this is what you call down. So he had a king 9. So it was not a good float on the flop by him. I guess he floated with a gut shot and backdoor 2-card spade draw to a 9. That doesn't make sense. But, these guys are going to call pretty loosely on some of these flops, and probably, in retrospect, should have bet turn, especially once we know we hit top pair there. He would absolutely call the turn in a river bet and possibly could have even stacked him. So we maybe missed out on some value there, so let's keep that in mind. King Jack off in the big blind. Limp. So you have a choice here. You can either raise this up and try to narrow it down, or are you happy to see the flop? I could go either way on this. It depends on my opponent and how likely I think they are to fold. These guys are relatively loose, especially the 42-8, and what I don't want to do is raise it up to, say, 50 cents and just get 2 collars, because that's not helping you. If you do that, you try to narrow the field to one person. So I think I actually like checking my option here and seeing a free flop. All right, what should I do? So, all right, good flop. Our hand is somewhat disguised, because here we can have nearly 100% of hands. So getting a top pair of good kickers is disguised. Marginally draw heavy board. They have diamonds. 9-7, 7-5 gives you straights, straight draws, I should say. There's no pre-flop aggressor, so this is a place where I might bet if it gets checked to me. All right, guy leads for nearly pot. I think at this point I probably like a raise, honestly, because of the draws that are out there. He could have 6s, he could have 8s. I don't know. We can click into his stats here. Whoop. How often does he raise from small blind? Does a decent amount of raising, also a lot of calling. So he's playing a ton of hands here from small blind. So he probably has the small pocket pairs in it. He probably also has some king 10, king 9, worst kings in there. So I still think I like a raise. What do we do? If I raise, I'm probably going to do about $1. Maybe even $1.10, because I like to keep him a bad price out of position. I flat call there, and I don't know that was the optimal play again. I think if he's firing here, he's going to give you value from some of those worse hands. That could have been a mistake. Let's see how this plays out. Well, it's certainly a tough turn card. I guess 9-5 is the only straight draw that completed. Should he have led diamonds, he got there. If he didn't have diamonds, there's not a lot of diamond combinations that would lead, except with something like a 9-8 of diamonds. You would think that would slow him down if he didn't have diamonds. So he slowed down. All right. So he probably doesn't have diamonds. So you're probably looking at a king, and you beat most of the kings. In case he's checking a slow play, in case he's checking to either induce a bluff or to slow play, I think you got to check behind. Good. Well, not an ideal river. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 4 diamonds. So we are hoping he checks. He bets half pot. So if you're right 24% of the time. So 24% of the time to see if a king without the other card being a diamond. Ace king probably raises. King queen with a queen of diamond probably raises. King jack with king of diamonds may raise pre-flop. It's going to be close. We're also looking if he had king 10 by chance. He got there in a backdoor straight draw. So this is probably... This is close. This is probably a fold. I do call. I think we're going to be shown a 10 or a diamond most of the time. All right. I mean, that was not a hand we would have given him credit for, king 8 offsuit. So that's interesting. We figured we were either against weaker kings that we would have beat, or we were against hands that we would have lost. So we didn't think of a 2-pair combo that he would have there. All right. Interesting. 8-7, little loose of an open probably from low jack here. I prefer to open the suited connectors a little later, but I can live with it. Folds around, small blind calls, new player, don't have much on him. Big blind folds, all right. So here we hit weak top pair. It's a flop that's going to favor the big blind range in general. We have top pair, weak kicker. We have a backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. So he has some decent equity, and it's also a board a lot of guys are going to miss and give up on easily. So assuming he checks, I do like a bet of probably around a quarter. Check, good. 24 cents, fine. And a call. So he could have 8-9. He could have 5-4. He could have a better 7. He could have 2 overcards. He could really still be pretty wide here. We're not betting real big, so guys will float with overs here. So let's see what happens. So the 10. So is there any value hand that had a 10 in it that just got better? Well, 8-9 is the obvious choice. You block some 8-9. If he's doing that with only suited combos, there's 3 of them left. So let's see what happens. He checks. I don't think the 10 improved him, unless he had exactly 8-9. So I think this is also a decent place to fire. If he had a 6 or a 7 and was just calling a flop bet, the overcard is probably going to scare him. It'd be better if it was an ace that would scare a guy off more, but a 10's not bad. I fire again here for probably 50 cents. 60, all right. I think that's okay too. And he does call, all right. So unless we miracle improve by drilling an 8 or a 7, this is certainly a check and give up river. All right, so if he happened to have a random 4 he got there, not to give many 4s. And now he leads. This is one of the situations where you don't want to throw good money after bad. Your pot odds are excellent. You only need 17% equity to call. Is there a situation, though, where he leads this river with any hand you beat? If he leads 7-4, I mean, you start thinking 7-4's the best hand that you beat. He can't lead with that. So despite getting the good pot odds, I think that is a fold. Do I call? I do call. All right, so I mean, we didn't narrow his range down too much just because he was probably so wide to start. But when we said the flop, it'd be a lot of 7-6s and some overs. Certainly nailed one of the overs on the turn, and I'll say you got lucky. It was probably not a particularly good play. 1, you shouldn't limp that from a small blind. 2, you probably don't float the flop with unsuited overcards, but that's why we play the game. All right, ace queen off, fold, raise from cutoff, great. A minimum 3-bet from button, and a cold call from small blind. I'm sorry, cold call from big blind. So, all right. These minimum bets are generally not a sign of strength to me. If we click on this guy here, 3-bet range. So he's 3-betting with not just the nuts. Now, you don't know all these scenarios here, but he has aces, 8s, ace-2 off, king-queen off, king-10 off, 8-6 off. So he's doing it, I can't say balanced. He's not a balanced player, but he's doing it with some weak hands and some value hands. So considering he did that and also got a call, this is probably a ripe 4-bet squeeze spot. So I probably go 2 or 225. Hopefully squeeze this player out and get him heads up with probably lesser hands. If you get 5-bet, you got to fold. I call there, and I don't like that call. I think that's a natural squeeze spot. So I think that was a mistake. So let's see if we pay for it. Interesting. So, all right, it's a flop that we don't connect with. We have 2 overcards. This is the problem. Is we probably could have generated a fold. Now we are stuck playing 2 overs out of position against a villain that could have a quite wide range. A check. I check. 3rd pot bet. Once he bets a 3rd pot and gets a call, this is probably just a fold. I know you have 2 overs. You're getting a great price to try to call and draw to one of these. But if you draw to an ace or something, though, you don't even know that he doesn't have ace-king, and you don't know that you're good. You're probably good if you get a queen, but there's only 3 of those out there. So that's 3 times 4, about a 12% chance of getting a queen by the river. That's not great. So this is probably just a fold. All right. Oh, here's the problem. Is now you get the ace. Check. I'm going to continue checking. Another 3rd pot bet with the ace high. So I am going to call the ace high bet. Or the 3rd pot bet with the ace. And a 2. So problem is, based on his range now, is he has any of these random ace pairings, ace 8, ace 9, ace 3, ace 2. If he had any of those random hands, he 3-bet either because he thought it was value or thought it was a bluff. All those hands now beat you. So I think you have to check here and then just evaluate the size of his bet. So now he's gone up to a little bit more than half pot. Well, we can count combos in different hands here. We can run through Poker Cruncher, see what it is. So you're losing to the aces up. So if you had one of these 2-pair ace hands, you lose to those. You lose to ace king, that would certainly be in his 3-bet range. Just based on this player, I think his 3-bet range is wider than those hands. I think it may include ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, even maybe something like ace 4 or something as a bluff. So I think, unfortunately, this is a bear down and call situation. And what do you have? Well, this is why you 4-bet or fold. So this is probably an example of a good spot where how you 4-bet pre. There's a reasonable chance he folds. At the very least, yeah, I don't know. I think we had a poor pre-flop decision that kind of led us here. Once the turn happened, I don't think there was much we could do about it. Yeah, I think it's a poor pre-flop decision, led us down a bad path. Ace 10 off and big blind. Small blind raises to 40. So he's stealing 22% of the time. He does not fold through the 3-bet yet. Not a hand I want to fold. I probably just call here. I like a 3-bet in this situation quite a bit. But I probably, considering just this player profile, I like a call. All right, I 3-bet here, and I think that's fine. Let's see what happens. He does call, and all right. So the problem is you're really hoping pre-flop this guy folds. Once he calls you and you get to the flop, there's not a lot of great scenarios. You can fire at this. There's a couple draws there. I mean, he can have spades. You block some of the spades. He doesn't. You block 10-9 for a gutter. He can have 9-8. I don't know that these are necessarily hands that he raises and then calls a 3-bet with from the small blind. It might be a lot of big cards that could have hit a jack, or could just be an ace king, ace queen that's just going to float with overs. So I think you got to fire one barrel here on the flop, then give up. He leads 2 big blinds. So I don't think you call this. This is not a bet that it screams extreme value to me. I think this is either raise at a decent size or let it go. So I raised to 205. I like that. So the small bets generally are not particularly strong. Now it may be stronger than our hand, but it's generally not particularly strong. And I like continuing to tell the story of us having a premium hand. He calls. So now you have turned top pair with a backdoor, what is that, third nut flush draw. So assuming he checks, I like a check behind, and he jams. Well, you need 30% equity to call. What hands is he doing with this with? Well, is he doing it with an ace king and ace queen? Maybe, maybe not. Did he somehow get there with spades and just happen to turn it on the river? I'm sorry, hit it on the turn. It's hard. There's so many just ace high flush combinations. He's going to have way more of those than anything else. I think with the 10 in the hand, you have to call off here. I think you have to call off, which I do. 2's there. All right. Tough spot. I mean, his pre-flop play was fine. I mean, that's a situation where I might raise that hand too. I would fold to the 3-bet unless I thought my player was overly aggressive. With that, with top pair, third kicker, and a 10 of spades in your hand, I think that's just an easy call spot on the river. So, cool. Got one for the good guy. Ace queen off again in the hijack. Fold, fold. Raise it up. All right. Call on the button from a very loose player. Call 3-bet from the big blind. So guy here is 3-betting 7% of hands. I'm guessing that's a note from this hand. So the 3-bet range appears to be entirely value so far. Considering it's entirely value, I probably want to simply fold. And that sounds a little bit nitty, but if he's only doing, aces, kings, queens, ace, king, even though you block those and stuff, if he's any of those hands, you are drawing thin. You probably just want to get out of the way here. I do elect a 4-bet that I don't know that I love. He's not folded to a 4-bet yet. He's only faced one previously. If his 3-bet range is that strong, he should not be folding to a 4-bet too often. So I'm assuming the small blind gets out of the way. Then yeah. Well, you got caught. So you were bluffing in your 4-bet or trying to go for thinner value, and you think ace queen is good value, but when you're getting the 4 and 5-bet pots, it's not. You got caught and should fold here. I'm assuming I do something stupid, which is why I flagged it. That's not good. Yeah, so poor pre-flop decision there. Out of all the hands I reviewed here, this is the one I'm probably a little embarrassed about. So the good thing is guys, is you can make some of these plays, you can make some dumb plays and still beat these levels. The reason I'm still playing 10NL is I want to work these mistakes out at this level before I go up and invest more money in things. As many of these dumb plays as you see me make here is one, you can still win. You don't have to be a perfect player to win. Two, just also realize these guys are making way more mistakes than this. So, all right, we learned one. Last hand here, pocket sixes. I like that in a later position. I'm okay with that from low jack, though. Cut off. All right. So, queen 8-7 flop. Guy is a loose player, call him with 36% of hands pre-flop. 4 to 65% of C-bet, so I do like a C-bet here, just a range bet. It's certainly something that hits middle cards. If he had, jacks, 10s, 9s, it's hard to, or hands with jacks, 10s, and 9s, it's hard to believe this board doesn't hit him. So with 3 overcards, you could also check. I think either of those plays are actually fine. I bet third pot. He calls. So the 9 is one of the cards that it appears that you've improved to an open. You've improved to an open and a straight draw, but how does that really help you? So the guy had jack 10 for some reason. He got there. If a 10 comes, there's no reason to not believe he has a jack and would have a higher straight than you. So you're really just drawing the 4 outs and a 5 right now. Maybe the 2 6s are live with the set. So hopefully I check here. I fire again, and I don't like that. Again, if you've turned additional equity, and that's often a good reason to bet. It's just this is a hand that the likely calling hands we just said that he's going to have hands that contains 10 jacks, 10s, 9s. If that's true, he may have been a better pair than you, or certainly has a lot of straight draws that are not going to fold to this bet. Check, check. Well, a weird hand from his perspective. Without a diamond on the board, he probably should not have called flop. So I would say it was probably a poor play on his part, but once that 9 came on the turn, I bet half pot, I guess you got to call down again. Unless he's real confident of a queen and only a queen, or I don't know. So, all right. So when we go through these hands, guys, not all of these are miracles. These are the select, 2% of hands I picked that I think I jack up that I got to go back and fix. So I will tell you in all honesty, this is the best exercise I have is going through these hands with you guys. So thank you for listening. Let me know what you want to see more of, and good luck in your games.